Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rabia, and in today's video I'll be sharing with you guys a few lessons that I've learned throughout my time at college and what I would recommend in order to make the most of your time. So to start off, I would like to give you guys a background on how far I've gotten in college. So I'm going to be a third year undergrad student this coming August. So I graduated high school during the pandemic, and I started my first year of college in August 2020. So since I graduated high school, I began college at a community college. So I completed 3 associate's degrees in the time of 1.5 years. I completed the Associate of Arts, Associate of Science, and Associate of General Studies. I didn't really know that I could do something like this until I was at the stage of filling in my graduation application. So that's when my counselor informed me that I'm eligible and I have the requirements to get all 3 degrees, something I took for my benefit. If I could go back and I had known that I was allowed to do multiple degrees, and especially in like a short span of time, I would have done something different. For example, like within one of these 3, something like the Associate of like Accounting or Ultrasound or Radiology. That way I wouldn't have to stay in retail while I continue college, and I would have been able to get a better paying job by the time I finish college or transferred, and that would have been so much more beneficial. But since I obviously didn't know about it until I was filling in my application to complete my associate degree, since I completed my associate degree in December of 2021, I started my bachelor's degree, like continuing it from my associate, since I had my general education basically covered by my associate degree, Associates of Art. I started doing a bachelor's in neuroscience and psychology at a transfer college, which I won't be disclosing for privacy reasons. And if you guys have been following my Instagram, you guys probably know that I've been working in retail since I graduated high school. So the first 2 semesters of my associate degree I spent working part-time, and my last semester of my associate degree I spent working full-time. The entire associate degree process, my time in community college, was online. Firstly, because of the pandemic. Secondly, even after like classes opened up, I decided to keep it online because they were just general education courses and I could dedicate more time towards working and more important things. So I'm sharing this with you guys because this is one way that you can graduate loan and debt-free from college. I honestly feel like doing your associate degree first and going to community college first is a really good decision, and it'll help you save so much more money. I'll go into more depth further into the video, but this is just one route you can take to graduate with your bachelor's degree without any debt or any loans. So to start off the first section of this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about your mindset in going into college, because that is something that's really important. I want to focus more on the worthiness of your bachelor's degree, because especially working in retail and in food service for one of my jobs, I've come across a lot of coworkers who have their bachelor's degree. They have like a good bachelor's degree, like business, psychology, something along those lines, but they still ended up in a job or career that doesn't require a degree at all. And that's mainly because as I talked to them and understood their background and the time that they spent in college and what they did, they mainly focused on having like a good social life, the party life, making use of what you call the generic college life of like being in dorms, having parties, staying up late at night. They didn't really make the full use of what a bachelor's degree is supposed to, like the full picture. There's a lot of strings attached to making a bachelor degree useful. Like, it's not enough to just take classes and complete a bachelor's degree, just having that like piece of paper. it's not going to be enough. You have to make connections with your professors. You have to get internship experience. You have to have like an active role in the community basically, or like a club, or like running a side hustle or business or something that you're just like passionate about. Like without focusing on these things, without making a way to grow your skill set in the career that you're interested in, is going to basically make your bachelor's degree useless. Like it's not enough to just go to class and get a bachelor's degree that way. There's so much more that you can do to optimize the worthiness and the value of your bachelor's degree, such as making connections with your professor so you can get a good letter of recommendation. Like it's not just about getting a good letter of recommendation, it's about making connections with your peers, with your professors, with other people in your career of interest. Also doing internships, doing something you're passionate about, learning new skills. That's something that I'm going to highlight. Bachelor degree is basically nothing unless you have the skills and the experience involved with it, because the main thing that jobs or employers are going to see is skills that you have, your communication skills, your technical skills. Literally learn as much as you can during your time in college. And another thing is, going into college because your parents are forcing you, or because you're just going because everyone else is a really bad decision. College is supposed to be basically a time for you to learn about yourself and about your career of interest. You don't have to have one single career of interest right away when you get into college. You can explore different ones and try different things. That's what internships are for. That's what different classes are for. And I honestly feel like what you go into college for is what you're going to get out of it. So the effort you put in is what you're going to get in return. The value of the bachelor degree is going to be based on the effort you put in and what you put effort into. So another few general tips that I have is, when you get into college, stay on top of your emails. There's a lot of career opportunities that will be sent towards you. Like, reply to professors on time. Be on top of it, because that gives a really good impression. That shows that you're interested in your education, that you're interested in making professional connections with people. Emails are a vital way that communication is done in college, and being on top of it is very important. Secondly, you should seek internships. Seek experiences, leadership opportunities, internship. Those are going to help you explore your interests and figure out what you're good at, what you can become good at, what you're interested in, the kind of lifestyle you want to live. It's going to help you with a lot of things, and the main thing, more than doing well in your classes, is having good experience, having good relationships with your advisor, your professor, people you do internships with, people you work with. Those are the main things that are going to help you along the way. Another general tip that I would give is to basically work on building passive income and multiple sources of income, because really, when you start working in retail is such a time commitment. You have to sometimes put 6 hours, 8 hours. But if you do that, but also at the same time on the side work on building a passive source of income, or another source of income that requires less of your time commitment but more of your skill, that's going to be so helpful in the long run, because eventually, once that starts building, you'll be able to cut down on your time-based work, where you're basically being paid on the hours that you're working, and instead you can focus more on the things that are more important, like doing internships or something along those lines to get more experience, and even just doing things that you like hanging out with friends. Because at the end of the day, it's important to remember that, like, you don't want to be paid for the amount of time you're putting in. You want to be paid for the benefit that you're bringing and the skills that you're bringing. Also, put yourself outside of your comfort zone, try new things, meet new people. There's so much you can learn during this time in college, and making use of college in this way is going to build you both personally and interpersonally with others. Like, use college not as just use it in a way to make professional connections and just generally learn more about yourself. There's so much you can do with this time. It would be an absolute waste if you didn't use it in a way that would help you grow and better understand yourself and what you want out of life. Like, I've heard so many people say that college makes you dumb, or it's not worth it, or anything like that, but it really depends on how you're going about your college experience, what you're doing. It's a waste of time if you're just going to do classes and just stay in that mindset where you're not getting any real world experience. But if you are using college in the way that is going to optimize both your experiences and your coursework and your skills, you're going to learn so much about yourself. Also, if you're a first generation college student like I am, then Google is your absolute best friend. I learned everything from how to fill out the Common App to scholarships to internships to how to basically interact with professors and how to write emails. Literally everything I learned from Googling. It doesn't take over the fact that you can learn so much more and make personal connections with your peers and your professors. Also, another thing that I would say is to apply to internships and experiences even if you don't feel like you meet the criteria. Generally anything that will give you experience in your field of interest, then apply to it even if you don't fit the criteria, because there's a chance that they might still accept you based on your dedication and how much interest you're showing. That happened to me. When I first transferred to my transfer college, I applied to an internship and alhamdulillah I got it. But that was mainly for students who were at my transfer college for at least 2 years, but I had just transferred in that semester. But thankfully, because of how much I showed interest, I was luckily able to get it, and it gave me a lot of insight into one of the career pathways that I was interested in, to understand if it was actually something that I wanted to go down. I know there's this prestige and this competition for people to get into like Ivy League schools, Big Ten schools, but I honestly feel like it's so not worth it, because the education that you get in college is literally based on yourself. Most colleges, like universally, the professors, they teach the courses and you learn the material, you do the tests, you do the assignments, and you make college what you put effort into. That's like literally it's all based on you. So I honestly don't think putting in that much money, that much effort to get into these big colleges is worth it, when in the end it basically just depends on what you make out of the college experience. So I would recommend everyone start at community college. Just my personal experience, my personal advice that I'm giving. I feel like there's so much benefit in starting it in community college, because you can make use of this time to understand your learning methods. So a piece of advice that I'd give that stretches all the way back to high school is to focus on taking dual credit and AP courses aside from your general classes, because as I recommend going to community college, this is going to set you up for success, and you'll have time to fit in courses to get in, for example, like another associate degree besides your main focus one. So taking dual credit courses, that's basically linked from your high school to your community college, and whatever class you take is going to have a letter grade and a GPA, and that is going to transfer and be about the same value in college. So you'll have a GPA attached to it and a letter grade. So AP courses is also something that I recommend. You get these letter grades in high school, but in order to get college courses, you have to take basically a test, and you get a score ranging from 3 to 5, and you have to be careful with this, because some transfer colleges either only take 5s or 4s, and it all depends on what course it is as well. So when taking AP courses, you have to be sure because most community colleges take a score from 3 and above, but when you transfer, there could be a possibility that if you get like a 3 or a 4, the transfer school might not take it. So you would have to you have to make sure and contact the transfer college that you plan to transfer to after community college if they would take a score of like a 3 or a 4. But it's always safe to get a 5, but it's always not possible because these courses are pretty challenging even though they're intro level since you are in high school. But I personally, I took a lot of AP courses, but I wish I had taken more dual credit since my initial planning was to go to community college. I feel like there's so much more benefit in taking dual credit courses, and you can even graduate earlier. You can also take up another associate degree, which is another benefit of taking dual credit courses because these are mainly general education requirements like English or of that sort. Like, I'm pretty sure whatever high school you're going to, especially in the United States, is going to be linked to a community college, and taking dual credit courses from there is going to both increase your GPA, which is going to your college GPA, which is going to make it easy to get scholarships. So starting at community college is also going to save you a lot of money, and as I said, it's going to save you a lot of time as well because most community colleges, they have the option of taking courses online, which is going to free up your time. This way you can focus on learning at your own pace, which is a really good skill to have. I feel like when I started at community college, it was a learning process because especially graduating during a pandemic, it was a lot of things all at once, but at the same time, I feel like it was a good challenge that helped me understand my learning abilities and the type of learning techniques that I used that would save me both time and would help me learn efficiently and effectively. So I feel like my time in community college was dedicated towards completing my general education. So generally in community college, I would recommend taking courses that are for your general education, which is basically required for your bachelor's degree. Also figuring out what college you're going to transfer to earlier on, like between your senior year of high school and the time that you start at your community college, like trying to figure out what college you want to transfer to so you can contact the admission advisor and figure out what associate degree they would recommend at your community college or the courses that they would recommend in order to have like a smooth transition, because not all courses that are taken at one college are going to be equivalent or accepted for a requirement in another college. So it's better to be safe than sorry in the beginning, and have that relationship and that connection with your admission counselor for both your community college and your transfer college so that you know what courses you're going to take and the path that you're going down to make it clear for both parties and yourself. There is a vast range of scholarships available and programs. I would recommend if your college has something like the honors program, you should join it. It helps you join your honors program, and something along the lines of like an honor society like PTK, Phi Theta Kappa, something along those lines. This helps for future scholarships and getting you more of that experience that I talked about earlier. Also, another thing, if you plan to finance your education like I did, then starting a community college is going to save you, as I said, a lot of money and a lot of time. So if you decide to go down that route, you can take majority of your courses, since these are just general education courses like math, science, social studies, that are required for your bachelor's degree, general education courses. You can take those online and it won't be any harm to you. It will just be a way for you to cut down on the time that you spend on campus. You can study at your own pace, like I said earlier, and use the time that you have condensed towards working, or like, as I said, setting up passive income, doing freelancing, trying out new things. There are two different types of remote courses as well, synchronous and asynchronous. Both of them have their benefits, and I feel like at certain times of my career in college, asynchronous was better, and some parts like synchronous was better. So from my experience, asynchronous helped me manage time and figure out how I learned best, and it saved me time because I only had to dedicate time towards studying and completing assignments and exams. But synchronous, on the other hand, made me feel more connected to peers and my professor, since we had group discussions and we had somewhat face-to-face interactions, which made me feel a little less alone, per se, in my college experience. Like, it really depends on your learning style and what you feel is best for you. So I would recommend trying out both style of remote classes if this is the route that you want to take, and going from there. A tip that I have for you guys, if you're not exactly sure what you want to major in, is to basically have a general mind map of your interests. Figure out what overlaps between all of them, like the courses that overlap between them. So generally speaking, the people that are confused, I'm pretty sure they have a general understanding of what they like. For example, if you want to be in the science field, you could be interested in environmental studies, neuroscience, psychology, biology, chemistry. You can be interested in all those, and you're in the first 2 years, you're just trying to figure out like which one out of those you want to pick. Then you can take courses that fall into like each category. Like, you can pool all of the requirements together to figure out which one out of these overlaps, so that in the first 2 years you're not wasting credits. You're taking credits that are going to be useful in either of the majors that you're interested in. Fitting in some of your bachelor degree requirement classes that are basically not lab based is going to speed up your process when the time comes to transfer. So I did take some third year psychology courses because I am a double major, and that helped me nearly complete my bachelor degree in psychology, which it's not completely done, but it was more than 75% done by the time I finished my associate degree at community college. So mainly when I transferred to my 4-year college in person, I was focusing more on the courses that I needed for my neuroscience major, since those courses weren't really available at my community college, and that helped me balance out my time so I wouldn't have to spend more time on my bachelor degree when I did transfer. So I would recommend generally to take a few courses that are available at your community college that are required for your bachelor's degree, aside from just the general education requirements, which is something that's going to help you both save money and save time. So in my personal opinion, the reason why I chose my specific transfer college is because of the small class sizes, the small student body, and I feel like going to a college that is small is super helpful, especially if you're mainly focused on getting a bachelor's degree that has a lot of value to it. So when you go to a smaller college, the classes are smaller. So, which generally courses at a big university would be from 50 to 100 students, my class sizes are between 15 to 20. And I feel like having that small environment, small class sizes, which are similar to high school, which I feel like most people wouldn't like if they're going for the college experience of having big class sizes. I feel like there's no benefit in having big class sizes, especially since when a professor comes in to teach and he sees this big mass of students in his class, he's not going to remember any of them. He's just going to go and teach, and then that's it. There's not going to be much of like interaction with the professor, and the teaching method is just going to be cold lecturing. And I feel like that's not really for me, and generally I feel like that's not really good for like learning, since having group discussions, having like being able to raise your hand in class and ask a question, which would be difficult in such a large setting at like a public university or like a big university, there's so much more that can be beneficial in a small classroom, since first of all you can use that time to ask questions, there can be group discussions, there can be activities, multiple different ways to learn, and like building a relationship, a connection with your professor, so they basically remember you throughout your time at college, and they can write you a letter of recommendation. You can learn from them, from their experiences, since basically if you have them as a professor, then you're probably going down a similar field. It can be very helpful to be in such small class sizes, and I feel like it's something that I highly benefited from, and I would recommend if anyone is thinking about transferring colleges to transfer to a smaller college. Also, another thing about small colleges is the small student body and like the proportion between the student body and the amount of experiences that the college will provide, or like the amount of internships that are available for students, is going to be so much higher than the student body. So there's going to be less competition, there's going to be more opportunities, even though doing competition is helpful, but I feel like it's not putting your effort in the right area if you're having to compete for experiences, and especially if you have a lot going on during your time at college. You're working, you have a lot of classes, like you have a long commute or something along those lines, and it's going to be very difficult for you to heavily seek out internship opportunities. So having that high amount of internships and experiential opportunities available to you compared to the level of competition you will have, I feel like it's going to be so much easier for you to seek out those internships and experiences and not have to compete heavily, since during this time you can get more out of your time. Also, another thing that I would recommend before transferring to a college is to focus on the student outcome and like read the alumni reviews and what they have to say about the college, about their experience, about the professors. I feel like you can learn a lot about the college from just that. My college personally, the one that I go to now since I transferred, there was a lot on experience, there's a lot of focus on research, there's so many opportunities for students, and I feel like that is exactly what you need. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you guys have any video recommendations, leave them in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!